Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to Community Voice. My name is Devon Jones, DJ the Protege, here with Carvey P, or is it Carvey G? Is one of them, and here with Debo.
My name is Harvey.
Nah, his name
My name Harvey, man.
Good God morning, TGIF. Thank God it's Friday. Good morning to you all. Keith is out on assignment today, so I will be with you this Friday and the next Friday.
Who gave me the assignment?
I don't ask questions. I just
there you go. You go.
Yep.
You start right away.
But it will be always is a pleasure, and it will be a pleasure just to speak with you all, the community, intimately, just me and you here with Debo and Carvey, and just discussing.
In fact, this is the last thing I'll say today. I'm not talking no more in the show.
And just discussing topics and things that are going on here within the community and abroad throughout our nation. I just, first of all, want to start off this program with giving a huge shout out to my grandmother, Miss Elistine Jones. She celebrated 90 years young on Wednesday, September 25th. It is a blessing to still have my grandmother here. Obviously, as everyone has heard throughout, I want to say the past 6 or 7 years, myself and Keith, our families grew up together. His mother and my grandmother were born a month apart. My mother and Keith are a year apart. My mother is a year older than Keith, and then his nieces and nephews, we are all around the same age. So his sisters and brothers, they're like my aunts and uncles, and so just a real big extended family. And so I just wanted to give another huge shout out to my grandmother, Elistine Jones, on celebrating 90 years of living. I wanted to start off with the MPS situation. MPS is in the news again, and it's not for anything positive, unfortunately. They had a superintendent meeting or a board meeting yesterday where they were expecting and announced to shut down the accelerated learning programs of 2 high school programs, one of South Division and one in Vincent High School. And so there was obviously backlash behind that, and much disdain to some of the students. I know that these classes were implemented in order to assist some of our young people in a more improved learning environment, and to help catch them up, so to speak, so that they are able to graduate on time and accumulate the necessary credits in order to move forward to the next grade and ultimately to graduate. One statement that was extremely interesting was from Jennifer Smith, a regional superintendent of the high schools with MPS, and she stated that, and this is her quote: "We have found that the accelerated academy served the purpose. We have not found that the accelerated academies serve the purpose of helping students with credit deficiency or attendance concerns." And I just want to know, and I'll open this up to the public, 414-444-5250. I just want to know, what merit did they base that off of? Because if they are speaking on not being able to serve the students, then obviously there is a why. Why was this found that it wasn't able to serve the purpose of helping the students with credit deficiency and attendance concerns? I mean, if it was due to staffing, then we all know that this budget concern and real issue that has come up is the district's fault, the school's fault, and not the student's fault. If it is a lack of resources, then again, that is up to the funding of that school and that district. And so, if they aren't receiving the necessary funds, or if those funds aren't being distributed in a way that should be able to assist these students in these particular programs, then that's not a student issue. That is most certainly uh, an administration issue. I do know that um, we often had conversations about MPS and the lack of funds and the lack of resources. But earlier this year, we talked about the mismanagement of funds and where these funds were being allocated to and where they were not being allocated to. This has been an issue, thus resulting in the resignation of Keith Posley. They are in the process of looking for a new superintendent right now. And so all of this is sort of the backlash that is stemming from earlier in the year, where um, it was basically a debacle when it came to the budget, and when it came to just understanding how are our students consistently failing um, without the necessary skills and tools moving forward. Now, we've often had individuals call and would say that, well, MPS isn't getting enough money. Well, MPS was getting over $1 billion, and with that amount of money, they were still asking for more. Obviously, one of the biggest things that drove huge conversation was back in was it June or July? Earlier in the year, we all voted on to provide more funds to MPS in order to give them more resources to serve our community. But um, when they will be receiving more funds, yet we are getting news on additional cuts to programs that are there to benefit our students. It just begs the question, why? Why are we cutting these um, programs, and how did we come up with this answer that these programs aren't assisting our students? So 414 I will open up the phone lines for questions, comments, and concerns regarding MPS. And I will say that, I have been one of the biggest um, negative reporters on MPS, because we haven't been seeing the results that is sustainable for our kids moving forward. I mean, obviously, um, each high school has a rich tradition and alma mater. We everyone consistently talks about uh, Rufus King High School. Everyone consistently talks about the rich tradition of North Division. My mother and my aunt uh, are both graduates of North Division. Riverside University High School. I mean, the list goes on and on, from Bradley Tech, and so many more. And so, with the tradition of these high schools being so rich, and the alumni from these schools uh, being entrusted within our community. I mean, we have some heavy hitters that have went to these MPS schools. Uh, why is it that our school district is failing? Um, that is a question that needs to be answered, and it has to go beyond not having the resources, because the resources are there. The money is there, and are we spreading ourselves too thin? Should some schools be closed? I know that you can look on just about every block and see an elementary school or middle school on a corner. Also, the traditional high schools are still present. Now, there have been different programs within the high schools. I know there was a time where Washington was split up into two schools. I'm not familiar if they are still split up into two schools, but there was a time where our schools were split up um, within that same building, and so there is something that needs to be said as to why consistently NPS is asking for more money, yet and again still are cutting staffing, cutting programs when they are receiving additional funds. 414-444-5250, 414-444-5250. Um, there has been, well, I brought up a just a pie in the sky idea that in at least for the high schools, in order to help get these schools back on the right path, put these high schools in the hands of the alumni. Again, when I know people that graduated from Washington and Riverside and King and North Division and South Division and Tech. I know people who went to Marshall, right? And they speak so highly of their alma mater and the pride in them in their school is overwhelming. That if we were to figure out a process to put those schools in the leadership of the alumni, then I think that is a step towards some improvement and just figuring things out on how to improve this situation going on in NPS. Like I said, it's a pie in the sky idea, but I truly believe that if the alumni are in full leadership of their particular high schools, then some improvement will happen. Caller, thank you for your patience. You're on air.
Good morning. Is this me?
Yes, you're on air.
Thank you, fellas. How you doing this morning?
All right, and yourself?
Pretty good. I think it's in the actual, the whole funding process. You mentioned $1 billion. Now, there's a little thing called human capital, and it's something you can't put a number on, but you feel it. Let's say you hire you personally, let's say you hire a tutor, like those Babbel.com, like when you're learning a foreign language. They wouldn't be in business if they didn't be successful at teaching you French, Spanish, German, whatever. They'd go out of business. The problem with tax-funded institutions, there's an economic principle that it's the nice stuff that always gets cut. The politicians are not cutting their salaries. They'll never do that. So they're always going to cut the visible, cool stuff, like they call it the lighthouse. So the light's coming out over the lake, and then the politician says, "Oh well, we're going to have to cut the lighthouse." So, oh boy, what happened? We're cutting the lighthouse. Well, the politician noticed he did not cut his salary.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the same thing with the school. It's the principal. The principal, not like the principal, the leader, but it's the mental principle. It's the idea that because you're getting free money, you don't even know what you're doing as far as how the money's coming in. It's also called the tragedy of the commons. Once you just pile all your money into this big pool, nobody has a stake in it. Nobody has an actual share of it. So everybody has everything. Nobody has anything. And if everybody has anything, nothing, that everybody has everything, nobody has anything. See how convoluted what I just said is?
Right.
Because everybody's got this pile of dough. Now let's argue over the pile of dough. Everybody keeps spending more and more. It doesn't matter if it's conservative districts, if it's a local district like this. The human capital element requires competition. So that's why school choice is so popular. And it's not taking public money and giving it to a private, because your money is your money. But once it's put in this big pool, then it's lost. It's lost in the shuffle. You can be the nicest teacher, the nicest principal. You have your inspiration. Now, let's say you have a school and they're hooked up with a business or a trade school. That trade school, like any school, by the time you're in 8th grade, you should already know how to run a business. If you can sell water, you can sell lemonade, and you see little kids doing this, then you learn business. And somebody could say, well, how are you selling this? And the little kid buys his lemonade. He charges, let's just say, charges 50 cents more than it would cost him. And then kids are going to learn that, a paper route and so forth, kids used to do. They're going to learn all the good stuff at a school, and they're going to realize this school is an opportunity to teach kids to actually make money.
But in that business term, so to speak, there's a product
Yes.
that you have to sell, and if
Yes.
your
Yes.
product
Correct.
isn't good enough, then it isn't
Correct.
selling, and so you're
Correct.
not going to continuously pay more
Yes.
money for
Correct.
a product that's not selling.
Exactly.
And my
Exactly.
question is, why is MPS continuously asking for more money, yet
they don't
they
have
are
competition.
cutting cost or cutting programs, and
Right.
and still the results are not improving?
Because they don't have competition. That's bottom line. They're not treated as if they have a discipline that if you ran your school, you personally, let's just say you had no tax dollars or you had school choice dollars, you would not be able to stay in business. And just think, you have kids. It's not like you're exploiting the kids. You inspire them, but there's no inspiration. This is that they get free money, and then they never have discipline. The teachers are not the problem. It's the institution itself.
Mhm.
It's an attitude. You just summed up everything in a couple of sentences, because there's no discipline. And it's not discipline like I'm slapping you as your hand. That's not what I mean.
Right.
The school itself, as an enterprise,
Right.
does not have discipline. And it sounded like what you just said. Am I making sense?
Yeah, I mean, I've said in the past when I used to work for after school programs within MPS schools that there was no discipline, and it came from the top down.
Yeah.
Obviously, in every sense of stability, there has to be a uniform approach in
Yes.
understanding
Right.
and ideology in order to
Yes.
get a desired result. Now, there's always is more than one way to cook chicken, but
Yeah.
when there is some uniform ideology, then
Yes.
you have a easier process in order
Yes.
to gain the desired result.
Yeah. And the name is called capital. That's the bottom line. It's called capital. You bring in your human capital. You have to love teaching. You have to have a drive in you to teach, and then you take your kids out. Now, today, we're going to sell orange juice. We're going to sell popsicles at the beach, or we're going to sell hot coffee, depending on the winter, or we're going to sell little sandwiches, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and we're going to get a license from the city to
Mhm.
do that. And then the kids are going to say, wow, this is really fun. This is really exciting. And you say, now we're going to collect this money and put it in a stock portfolio. It's going to be a broad, diverse fund. And we're going to be able to take a little bit out. We're not going to take it all out. And we're going to learn how this is done. And
Maybe-
just think what would happen. Just think what would happen. The kids would say, this is fun. This is really exciting. Am I making a little sense?
I think I understand what you're saying. Thank you for your call, John.
Thank you.
I think the premise of that is I wrestle with holding um, this form of education in the same light of business, because obviously business breeds corruption, and our youth are in no place to be in a position where their livelihoods and their mental capacity could withhold corruption when education and business is involved. This is Community Voice. My name is Devon Jones, DJ the Protege, and we will be right back. Keith is out on assignment, so I will be with you all this Friday and the next Friday. Um, yeah, just wrapping up the NPS conversation. Um, there are so many questions and so little answers when it comes to um, just the debacle that is NPS. Um, here, here we are uh, in the beginning of the school year, and it's still a lot of uncertainty. There is an interim superintendent right now, and they will start beginning the interviewing process and selecting candidates for the next superintendent, and that should all be finalized by next July.
Did
Um,
they ever get the officers in the school situation straightened out? Because there was some fines or something that's going to be levied.
right, they're still working to get the officers in the school situation, and you know, I remember around that time uh, that the officers were removed from the schools, and that was around George Floyd. And so there was uh, an extreme amount of disdain around police officers being within the school environment and how the environment itself isn't conducive to learning and an open environment for an individual to uh, creatively express mentally, physically, and spiritually when it comes to education. And so the police officers were ultimately removed from the schools due to a myriad of complaints, and one of them just involving that, you know, school resembling prison. And one way that you can double down on that notion was having police officers within the school. But since then, obviously, we have seen an enormous amount of violence, an enormous amount of chaos going on within the schools that have prompted individuals um, to ask the police officers to come on back within the school, within the schools. So they are still working on getting the officers back in the schools. They're not in there now, but I know that Governor Evers has basically slammed NPS in their handling of, one, the budget, and two, uh, getting the officers back within the schools. So 414 444 5250. 414 Again, it is Free Flow Friday, and we are just touching on a couple of local issues and topics that have just taken place so far. Uh, Another topic that has garnered the public's attention is the encampment that is around the guest house of Milwaukee, which is a men's shelter around 13th and Juno. The Guest House of Milwaukee is a men's shelter. They provide shelter for homeless individuals that are men. Um, and they also have a myriad of programs in assisting them to get back on the right track, whether it's job readiness, assisting with providing uh, rent assistance and home assistance, things of that nature. Um, there are a myriad of programs within the guest house. The guest house is similar to the rescue mission and Salvation Army. And so right now, there has been a huge encampment right across the street from the guest house of Milwaukee. And actually, the guest house has provided those individuals that are in that encampment a 30-day vacate notice from their tents. And I know that if you all remember, Tent City used to be downtown underneath the bridge, and they somehow moved all of those individuals in preparation for the Democratic National Convention. Now, this is dating back to 2020, and so there was nobody living where the guest house was outside. As far as tent wise, Tent City was definitely far removed, but they displaced those individuals from Tent City, and now that those individuals were removed from there, they have migrated to across the street from the guest house of Milwaukee. Um, there have been quotes from the CEO stating that there have been numerous incidents of violence, sexual assault, and just uneasiness with those individuals around that area. And then obviously that is a place of business still. And so, the workers have to figure out a way to park, have to go into the building and, conduct business as usual. I don't know if the guest house is actively working with those specific individuals and assisting them to obtain housing, but I do know that the guest house of Milwaukee does actively have programs and resources that are intricately intertwined with assisting the homeless population. Caller, thank you for your patience. You're on air.
With NPS. Everybody knew that they wasn't going to do right from the beginning. So I don't know why they even gave them niggas no money. Because all they doing is wearing out their welcome. They're like a goldfish. They're going to keep on eating until they kill themselves. So what they're going to keep doing is they're going to keep taking as long as you keep giving them. I would not give them nothing until they clear out the whole board. And that's why they're doing it. They're just like some of them family members. You know they ain't no good, and they're going to keep asking for money even when you give them money and tell them to keep it. Number two, within our culture and our community, we got to learn how to do better. All right? See, this is the reason why they keep throwing up all this low-income housing over the city, because don't nobody want to get out here and apply this pressure. Prime example, people keep crying about these migrants, $2,800 a month for food stamp housing. And what are they giving black people? Low income. Because they feel that's all you are good and you are and they feel that's all you worth. So we as people, we got to do better, because you're not going to be able to move forward with the victim mentality. Because right now we have this codependency on government for a welfare check, and that is not what we as black people was about. So I wanted to share that information because it's getting tiring. So it's like we're not good for nothing. All we want to do is whine. And if they're not going to give you the resource, what choice are you have? Get out there and get it on your own. But if you keep whining about the migrants, maybe you should go F1 and maybe they will share some of their $2,800 a month, their food stamp and their housing with you. But the big issue is those migrants work together. In our culture, they don't. Because it could be 10 welfare checks and they're still going to the food pantry and it's going to be a disconnection notice somewhere. But they didn't want to share that with you, but I'm going to share it with you today. Goodbye.
All right. Appreciate the call. Caller, you're on there.
Hey, good morning, my brothers.
Good morning.
You know, it's a shame after all these years of the same failure that we still hold people that worked for NPS at a higher standard. They've been failing these kids since the 70s. We need to realize this. They need to clean house from the top to the bottom, because if they don't, this stuff's still going to happen. And as far as the homeless people, you have to be mentally challenged if you want to live outside in a tent in the city of Milwaukee, period. There's a mental problem. And if you don't nip that in the bud, it's still going to be issues. And if they are giving migrants $2,800. It's time for us to start really pushing the fact that they still owe us. The people that built this country, this lavish lifestyle that a lot of these Caucasian people are living, a lot of lifestyle that the black people, when they got educated, they started living. They forgot about the little people. Because it's a shame that you can spend $88,000 on a car or a truck that can't even go up and down the street to do what it was supposed to do. That $88,000 could have maybe put 2 police officers in the schools so they can be right and get these kids in shape. Because if you don't, it's going to break off even worse.
I brought up the idea of, and I don't know how it would be, but I brought up the idea of potentially having the alumni of each particular high school take over that particular high school. Because, like I said, I grew up in Milwaukee, born and raised. My mother has been born and raised here too, and she grew up, off of Center, and was right by Hopkins Lloyd School, and then she obviously, as I stated earlier, went to North Division. All of these high schools have rich alumni and they have rich traditions. What do you think about having the alumni take over the schools and having the board just handle middle school and elementary schools?
Well, the fact that that's where they need to teach them that. So no, they don't need to be, the elementary schools are the problem with. That's when the kids learn how to read and write and math. So I wouldn't, it's scary because by the time it gets to the high school, it's still going to be a failure. What we need to do is start looking at why Howard Fuller was so pushed when he was trying to do so much to educate our kids, that they pushed him out of the door because they knew that he was telling too much information on what they really trying to do. And all the teachers that sit there and take a check that don't do what they're supposed to do need to go. Period.
I know that Keith often said this because he was he's not a real big proponent of choice schools and things of that nature, but he would specifically talk about the funding and stating that if MPS is getting $12,000 per student, why would I think that giving a choice school half that amount, $6,000 per student, why would I think that would present more resources and a better learning environment for my schools and my kids?
It won't if they're not learning. We just need these kids to learn. It's the fact that when they get 18 and they out here 17 robbing people and shooting people, then why is that? That's a lack of parenting. Their parents don't care because their parents wasn't raised right. Mm-hmm. So it's so deep that we still fighting the battle, that we're gonna be fighting this battle for another 20 years. Hopefully some of us will be here to see it. I know some of us won't be. And then there's that part. Because most people leave here because they see the failure of the people that's running this city, this state, and then they laugh in our face because, the car is making us talk about it. Yeah, it's making us talk about it because you idiots spent $88,000 on a car that went over these potholes that y'all ain't fixing. Now it don't run right. So, man, when we gonna see the big picture? When we gonna get these idiots out of office? When we gonna stop running behind these idiots? Because as long as we keep running behind these idiots, we gonna be idiots. Because they're gonna say, "Oh, that's an idiot city. They don't even know how to control their kids. These kids are failing us because we are letting them fail us."
I appreciate. I appreciate the call. I think that goes back to what Al was stating, is that as a community we just have to come together, and obviously we're not all going to agree, but there has been a consistent when it comes to just wanting better for our youth and wanting better for our community. And that is a solid start. And now we just need to hash out um, the necessary steps and processes to that. Caller, thank you for your patience. You're on there.
Yes, listening to what's going on, but then being a single father myself, um, charity begins at home. We got to start teaching our children and let them know that they got to learn. But all children don't learn the same.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of our biggest things out here. We want to put the same thing, present the same thing to each child. And if this child is frustrated sitting in this classroom, and what is it going to do? It's going to start acting out, you know. So the problem is that a lot of parents don't even know their children have learning disabilities. They don't ask them, do you need someone to help you with your homework?
Mm-hmm.
Because I can't do it, okay? Or what, and ask their children, what do you want to be? But
Right.
they let the school be the daycare, and then when the kid get home, they don't even know where that kid is. Right down the street in a stolen car.
Right.
Sitting in Sherman Park somewhere, Washington Park, with a whole lot of kids that carrying guns and smoking marijuana.
And
So
there is a not to provide any excuses, but there is also a sense of not knowing how to get that specific help for your child. I mean, there
that's
all like you said, all children don't learn the same, and so each youth needs a specific game plan or learning plan tailored to them. And when something is not of the ordinary, there needs to be a process in place. But as a parent, they also need to be aware of this and know the resources. Now, uh, that is incumbent on the parent doing their necessary research and being proactive and trying to receive and look up those necessary resources as well.
well, a lot of the parents, number one, they didn't graduate, and they got frustrated, walked out. So the thing here is that what we need to do, we need to reach out to parents to see what their head is and what they really going on. I see parents drop their children off at school. They pull up with this wild music playing, marijuana smoke coming out the car. Then your kids got to go into school, and you expect the teacher to be able to control this, and you're out of control.
Mm-hmm.
And we got to hold ourselves accountable. One thing about the Black and brown community, we don't police our own community as we should. So now they got police officers in the school. So we're not telling the child, you can't go and act out because they see us acting.
Right.
You can't do as I say, but don't do as I do. But soon as someone says something to you, you're wilding out
Mm-hmm.
and cursing and going out your mind. But then you tell your child you can't do that. They learn it from example. These are people out here. And the one thing about each other, we as a people, the ones who do have enough sense to pay attention to what's going on, we have to talk to the other ones. Even if they don't want to hear it, say something to them, because eventually they will listen. Hey, calm down. Teach your child. Conduct yourself better in front of your child so you can teach your child how to conduct themselves. And we wouldn't need police officers in the school.
All right. Thank you for your caller. Thank you for your call. Thank you. Caller, you're on there. Thank you for your patience.
Yes, sir. Thank you for taking my call. And assalamu alaikum to you, sir. And to the other brother in the studio, Brother Debo, I think that is.
Yeah, he stepped out.
Yes, sir. Okay, that's fine. Listening, and primarily I wanted to say this, that just because a Black person has accomplished some level of education, matriculated to some upper echelon of academia, that is no guarantee of anything other than the accumulation of debt. You obtain knowledge and information, and if you are able to utilize it, either whereas you can produce your own reality, become self-sufficient, that's the best thing, or you might be allowed access into whatever particular industry that you might be interested in, or whatever it is, the discipline that you have accomplished, and you want to be compensated for your knowledge. So there are other barriers that people who are melanated have to overcome, or that they are met with, just because a person that is black has gone to college. The only thing that I could say, that whereas they might be able to access and become gainfully employed, is if they are of an assimilated mentality, whereas nothing else matters but what they're doing, and they have no attachment to who they are, where they came from, and they don't want to be attached to it at all. Our people have become complacent and have accepted what this society has meted out on us, and it has us divided, thinking that some of us are more or are better off than others, and that is true to a degree. But if only a tenth of the percentage of our people are living the high life, then what about the rest of the people who are suffering? And who are they suffering at the expense of?
Right.
Our people suffer with the sickness, the psychosis of Willie Lynch. And as the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has said, if you, how shall they have a teacher except, how should they have a teacher except he be sick? And how should they know except they have a teacher? And how shall they have a teacher except he be sent? Your parents have been failures, and we have been in a cycle of failure, is because we have rejected to accept our own and be ourselves. That's it. Take it or leave it.
I appreciate you. Call it. Thank you for your patience. You're on there.
Good morning.
Good morning.
This is the Reverend Dr. Andrew Ward.
Hey, can you turn your radio down, please?
I have taught in MPS for about 50 years. And every time we had a meeting, most of the time, the teacher was blaming the parents blaming the teachers, and everybody else but themselves. One thing about MPS right now is their low attendance, and the schools are spread out, buildings are wasted, and personnel is wasted. They need to consolidate this stuff. And as far as policemen in the school, they don't need policemen in the schools with officer uniforms on. When I was going to school 60 years ago, they had school detectives who were dressed in suits, and they were not assigned to a school. They were assigned to a bunch of schools, and these were special people who could handle students. And since we don't have enough teachers, particularly in the STEM subject, we should have the paid teachers or paras or somebody to learn with the students, just to be the monitor, and everybody's learning together. In the words of Maya Angelou, in order to learn, and when you learn something, teach it. So everybody will not learn unless the people who learn teach others. Each one must teach one. And y'all have a good one.
All right. Thank you. Caller, thank you for your patience. You're on there.
Yes, hi. I was listening to the woman earlier, and she made a statement about affordable housing and the fact that we do act as if we are victims of society when we are victims of ourselves. And I totally agree.
That was a man. That was a woman.
no, not the way. Oh, well, whomever that was,
Yeah, that was
they made a
Al.
wonderful statement, and I enjoyed it because I'm tired of affordable housing, and we don't need affordable housing. We don't. We need livable wages. We need someone to give us economic literacy. We need to stop, and then also too, it does start with the home. We need to stop. I remember when I went to school, I went to Hopkins, and I remember my mother was going through a lot, and my father was only around during the summer, and they were divorced. But anyway, the teachers would knock on the door and ask my mother, "What is going on? What's wrong?" Now the teachers knock on the door. They're liable to get into a physical altercation with the parents because they wonder why they're knocking on their door
Mm-hmm.
because they believe they send their children to schools to be raised and not taught.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to figure out what happened to all that community, and we need to get back to that. And back to my original statement. Yes, we do need financial literacy. We don't need affordable housing. We surely didn't need that $88,000 clown car. I don't even know what that was when I was looking at it. I was like, what? I didn't even get the concept. I think it's so unfortunate that our black leaders they scream and holler until they get in office, and then they do status quo. We are tearing up. We need to go after people in our community that don't pay taxes, landlords that own 250 some houses. They're not doing the upkeep. They're not paying their taxes, and we think it's okay, and it's not okay. If I make $8 an hour and I can pay $1,000 a month for rent,
Mm-hmm.
why aren't I eligible to buy a home? Then they have these multi-million-dollar banks in our inner cities, and then they have these home buyer workshops, and we don't make enough money to even pay off the debt, and we're going to be delayed because a lot of times we make less. You have to look at the inequities all around the board, with just certain things,
Thank you,
and that's
caller,
just my
for
comment for the day.
yes, man. Thank you. You made valuable points. All will be brought up on the next half of our program. This is Community Voice. I am Devon Jones, DJ the Protege, and we will be right back. often our education and our knowledge of things leads to our home situation, our housing situation. And the fact that we have a failing school district, um, and now that our homeless population is ever so growing, I don't think that that is a coincidence. And so I wanted to talk about both because we have to start to figure out some solutions. I have worked with the homeless population, and I've also worked within the educational system. And I was talking to Debo off air, and I said that, often when you're not working with these specific demographics, you have a specific frame of thinking about these people until you're actually working with these individuals day to day. I do feel that, to Brother Christopher's point, that some of us, maybe a lot of us, are a bit institutionalized and thinking that, we need these degrees and we need this sort of education that is given to us from a specific institution. But also, we should offer a bit of grace to both the people in the educational system, as far as the families, and then also the people who are within the homeless population, because not everybody is choosing to be homeless. Not everyone is choosing to not go to school. A lot of families don't have proper transportation for their child to go to school on a consistent basis. And then there are some individuals that were just down in their luck that ended up homeless.
You were speaking to something earlier, and it just kind of crossed my mind as I was listening. You mentioned, it may not have been you. It may have been a caller who mentioned that Dr. Fuller at one time was
a caller, yeah.
was superintendent for the Milwaukee Public Schools, but he was telling too many secrets, or whatever. But in reality, when we look at that, the school system was failing even then. It was one of the reasons Dr. Fuller pulled away. He got a lot of resistance with a lot of the changes he wanted to implement and bring. And now when we look at a Dr. Fuller who has a middle school on 29th and Capitol and getting ready to, it may be open already, I believe it is, the high school that they just built from the ground over here on Vel R. Phillips and Garfield. I mean, so he knows something.
Yeah.
And it wasn't him, it was systematically the board and all of the above then. So it hasn't changed. We're looking at it if it's something new, and it's been an ongoing problem for Milwaukee Public Schools for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
Let me put that in there.
Yeah. Caller, thank you for your patience. You're on there.
Hey, good morning, DJ. Good morning, Debo. Good morning, Carvey.
Good morning.
Good morning.
DJ, this is Mr. Westmoreland.
I always remember your voice.
Huh?
I said I'll always remember your voice.
Yes, I want to say to you that I've been listening for a long time. I've been listening to you. I've been watching you. And you are turning out to be one extraordinary radio personality. With your wisdom, with your education, you have most definitely are getting better and better. And I just wanted to commend you on that.
Thank you.
I wish you hadn't have done that, though. If you could see his head over there. I'm just messing with you. Go right ahead.
I'm just the person that always builds people up if I have the opportunity, and I don't give no passes. If you don't earn it, I'm not saying it. I want to say, in regards to education, I'm glad that you guys are speaking of this subject this morning. It's very interesting and very detrimental to our community. I want to say to parents that's listening out there, if you're having trouble with your kids in school, there's a lot of places that we can reach out to and get help. We can get help from many universities within our district, and they have programs for young people to turn themselves around. I am a product of the Milwaukee public school system. I only went to the 8th grade. I never graduated from high school. And like I've heard so many callers say that everybody don't learn the same way. There was, I'm 71 years old. There was no such thing as diagnosis that we have today of learning disabilities. And listening to some of the learning disabilities, I most definitely have some of them. However, I and my wife, we put all of everything that we had into both of our sons. And as parents, when these kids come into the world, you have to put yourself second and you have to put your kids first. Because it is so important for these children to get a good education, but they don't have to be out in our communities robbing and stealing. And you know, when I raised my sons, I always told them that it's very important to get a good education. You know, we got to keep our children busy. Also, we just had a summer that passed by, and my sons, they were always involved in some type of activities in the summertime. You know, you just can't just leave these kids to do what they want to do throughout the summers, not doing anything constructive. It's just such a great big waste of time, you know. So I encourage parents to reach out and get help for your children because they're going to need it.
Mm-hmm.
You're not always going to be here for them. What about if something happens to you? You know, your kids are going to be out there. They're going to be uneducated. They're not going to be making any money. They're going to live a miserable life. So I just want to say, just get out there, get involved with your kids. Maybe you may not know how to do the homework. Find somebody to help you. Or find somebody to help your child get this homework done.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I would like to add that, you know, a lot of it, you know, we hear a lot of I would like to say excuses that, you know, oh, I didn't know, but a lot of times, majority of the time, we have to be proactive in looking and earnestly searching for those answers and for those resources. Now, the resources are available, as everyone often says, that the programs are there. And so if the programs are there, and you feel that they aren't as visible as they should be, then you should search for them, look for them, actively move in a way to gain the desired knowledge that you want. Caller, you're on air. Thank you for your call.
You know, I had to call back because, you know, I envy Dr. Howard Fuller for what he's doing for this city. And I always will. But the scary part is we got a lot of people that's on the other side against him, don't want him to succeed because it makes them feel like they got more power. The power structure here is so screwed. It's a shame. When you got people that got jobs that's doing stuff to fight and don't want to see people get ahead, it's really the reason why these problems are happening in this city. I mean, like for instance, every school should teach plumbing, electric, HVAC. All MPS schools should have that program. They should make it mandatory that they teach these kids a trade. They teach them something, teach them how to paint, teach them how to do lead removal and do the plumbing so they can clean up these water lines and stuff. They keep saying what they want to do, but they keep for us to have a failing system. And long as this system keeps failing, we're going to have these problems with people in this city. We're going to have more people sleeping in tents in a park or in a garden or under a bridge. We're going to keep having people that's mentally challenged because they don't see the big picture. If you get two people to do it, oh, that's a good thing. We got two of them to go through the program and they successful. No, you gotta. It's more to it. There's too many people out here failing, man.
Mm-hmm.
There's too many people that's not getting to reach the higher plateau in life. You have to be able to take care of kids. Some people shouldn't have kids. They like the abortion thing. Some people need to have been aborted. That's the problem. And until that happens, until you bring it back to society where you see the big picture, we're gonna always have this problem here because they want us to fail. That's why they moved all the jobs in the outskirts and nobody can get to them because they got plenty of jobs out here. But if you poor and you ain't got driver's license, and if you ain't got insurance for your car, you're gonna fail. And stop with the how can I say this? That we don't understand that we got to help each other. We can't just say, "Oh well, I got it." They got to get it on their own. No, you got to help. Ain't nothing wrong with throwing the rope down so you can help the man up the tree.
Yeah. All right. Appreciate you, caller.
Yeah.
Caller, thank you for your patience. You're on there. Good morning.
Yes, sir, Brother Devin. I apologize for calling back.
Devon.
Brother Debo. Yes, sir. Devon. My bad. See? Devon.
Yeah.
One of my best friends' name his name was Devin Price. Devin L. Price. He was murdered, and that was it was a while ago. He was like my brother, more of a brother than my biological. We were closer than than to biological relatives. But anyway, this is why I called.
I'm sorry to hear that.
It's okay. Don't be sorry. Sorry means pathetic. I understand your
condolences.
Intent, I understand your intent. Yes, sir. What we have to think about as Black men is this: that we are at war, and that those who are still viably useful, and primarily our youth, have the bullseye on them. And in the art of war, your opponent, or the one who seeks to overcome or destroy you or to subdue you, he looks for your weakness, and that is what he seeks, or she or they seek to exploit. And one thing that we have to consider as Black men is this, and this is a known fact, that if your weakness as a man is men, then your fight has already been overcome. There is no fight in you for the continuation of the male species. If your weakness as a man is other men, then I will dare say to you, however and whenever, I do not think that you would be the best choice to facilitate our war with regard to the preservation of our species as Black men. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I guess I'm trying to figure out where Brother Christopher was going when he said, if your weakness is men. Was he directing that at someone?
I don't think so.
I think
he was. Yeah, I think it was a general. Because I think he was piggybacking on the previous caller when they was talking about how people were making life hard for Dr. Howard Fuller, and so and the changes that he wanted for education and things of that nature. And so mere men, if that's our mere mortals, if that's your weakness, then you won't. It's gonna always be difficult, and it's gonna be difficult anyway. But I appreciate the calls. As I normally tend to do, I often write a perspective and recite it over our airways. And so right now, I will begin the Protege's perspective. Is a break coming up? I could do it now. Then we could get it after the call. Yep. So now is the protege's perspective. The word normal is aimed to be universal in the sense that most people, if not everyone, is able to understand that specific phrase or meaning. Normal is also mentioned in a way that is not out of the ordinary, in line with the routine or consistent process. Normal should be identifiable because it is regular, common, and standard. When life and other individuals are involved, normal becomes complex. Routine and experiences shape what's normal from one individual to the next. Due to those different experiences, normalcy can err on the opposite side of the spectrum for many individuals and groups of people. Dissecting the complexities of what's normal will take much time, education, and compassion. Two people's normals may be so far from each other's expected normalcy that understanding will only be feasible if one has experienced it themselves. For many, it's normal to hear or know that someone has passed away from gun violence. For many, it's normal to know what it's like to be discriminated against. For many, it's normal to experience poverty and live in survival mode on a consistent basis. For every scenario presented, there's someone whose experiences are at the exact opposite of their personal continuum. Life is complex, and so are the experiences within it. Normalcy is based on past experiences, and though these experiences could be daunting or unfathomable, the regularity of these experiences make them normal. What's normal is perceived to be universal, and it is also experience specific. Normal is observed as a routine, but that understanding is often fluid. The complexity of normal is oxymoronic because it can be universal and experience specific. What makes normal so complex is that two things can be true. Some experiences may be normal to me, but not normal to you. And that is the protege's perspective for this week, just speaking on the complexity of normalcy and, what is normal. Normal is often perceived to be very common, universal, as I stated, but everyone's normal is different. And then also, when speaking about normal, and obviously we are post pandemic, but we are living in a new normal, which uh, is something that is a new universal theme and a new universal process. Uh, and so normalcy and differences often come about when we are engaging with each other and sharing experiences in this existence we call life. And so I just was just thinking about what is normal, how did it become normal, and just because something is normal to me, it may not necessarily be normal to you. And thus, the question can be asked, is it still normal? You are listening to Community Voice. My name is Devon Jones, DJ the Protege, here with Debo and Carvey. Keith is out on assignment. Phone lines are open, 414-444-5250. We will be right back.
Christopher, I'm just waiting for you to. I mean, not Christopher, but DJ.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, okay. What you said was very good. I mean, that was very good about normal and education, and very. You're very. I'm going to say. I'm glad you're on this show.
Thank you.
Very, very good. My stepfather was a math. He was a math and German teacher in Colorado, and they had at the school they had a mechanical class, and where you work in automobiles. They also had a thing working on airplanes too. They were building airplanes too. They also had a program where they were teaching people how to work on homes too. So, like you said, not everybody's meant for college, but there's some advantages of going to college too, because you get. Thing about going to college, I found, is that you get your horizons are broadened.
Right.
And you get to meet people from other parts of the country, and you get different viewpoints, and especially black people from different parts of the country. And I will say that I kind of make things about, but like it's a person was talking about getting out. When I was working in LA, they had a situation where at the training facility, I do construction, and I'm not from LA, but I just travel the country. I worked in Wisconsin, I worked in some other states, Florida, and everything. Anyway, they had to take classes, and some of the people did not even have vehicles or cars, but they still found a way to get to the school and everything else like that. It was that important to them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what the person was, that's what she was saying to me. I said, because some of the people don't even have any cars. He said, well, they found a way to get here. And they think it's that important. And because otherwise they're just not going to make it. And by the way, things like carpentry and all these other skills, they can be taught. We had a situation, I live in Colorado, and the guy who was running the training facility was talking about they would get a lot of these Mexicans coming up, the ones from Mexico. He said most of these people had about a third, fourth, at the most, fifth grade education. And he would have to go over them, and he had to teach them, they wanted to be carpenters, and he'd have to teach them, a course, adding, subtracting, fractions, and he'd have to teach them some other things. But he said after their 4 years or 5 years, whatever their apprenticeship was, he turned out some very good carpenters. So these things are not impossible to learn or anything else like that. Everybody's capable of learning. And he said, if I can take somebody who's coming from a foreign country, they just have to have a desire.
Right.
And he said, that desire has to be. And then I spoke to a guy who was, he ran his business, Sid. He runs a business here, and he deals with Black history. He takes Black people up to the mountains, and he gives them history tours up there as far as Black history in the early Colorado, 1860s, 1870s, when they were working the mines and the gold mines, silver mines. And he says, something, he lived in Brooklyn, and he got sick and tired of being poor. So he says, I'm just going to have to change my circumstances. I'm going to have to get out of this rut I am in, because I don't see any pathway out of this. So I'm going to have to just change my whole mindset, and that's what he did.
Learning is a community based experience, because one, I have, in order for me to learn something, I have to see myself being able to achieve and want to learn whatever that desired skill is. And then also I have to be open to receiving new information. And then next, that the teacher has to be willing to provide the necessary information and wanting to encourage and help and show that they care, so that that learning experience can be fulfilled. Oftentimes we only look at learning through the lenses of the teacher passing down information,
knowledge.
but it's twofold.
Yeah, but he was just saying that he was able to take he worked for these people, but he said it was they had to have a desire by going to classes, by studying, because like I said, he said most of the people didn't even know fractions, how to add and subtract fractions from rural Mexico. But he said after 4 years, he turned out those guys some very good, actually became very good, and they were able to add, subtract, and whatever you're doing when you're a carpenter. They were able to do some little geometry. My understanding is that, somebody says, what's the importance of math? But he says math is so many things, because that's what he taught was math, and he was just trying to explain the importance of geometry. But he was just saying that, to make this guy, the instructor, he was just saying, yeah, you're right, the instructor has to teach. And then I spoke to another instructor. He taught carpentry. And do you remember when they were tearing down those housing projects in Chicago?
Yeah.
And I think Jesse Jackson came up to him and some of the Operation Push and said, can you help some of those people who are in these housing situations? They're going to be tearing them down to teach them skills and everything else like that. And he said, we'll work with them. And he was an instructor. And he said, and I said, how did it go? He said, it did not go very well because you got to take people who may not have been, they're not accustomed getting up and going to a job or even going to school. And he said they had a whole bunch of problems with reading, writing, and everything. It could have been, they could have overcome it, but it was totally up to that person. And then some of them, they had bad attitudes too, interacting with people too, because a lot of them, somebody would look at them and then all of a sudden they would want to fight the person. But he said it was a lot of times things are totally up to us. And even if we go from a family where education isn't valued, we're just going to have to surround ourselves or get out of that situation and get with somebody who's going places.
All right.
You know what I mean? And I take it your grandmother or your mother was pretty instrumental in your education.
Right.
Because they were encouraging you to go to school. And
well, they didn't encourage me to go to school. It wasn't no option. I had to go to school. You know, I always say, you know, if my school wasn't scrolling at the bottom of the school, of the news of closures, I was still going to school. You know, it don't matter how much rain or how much snow was going on or how cold. If my school wasn't closed, I was still going to school. That was the only way I wasn't going to school.
Yeah, but I say your mother and father, your grandmother had a very, very instrumental with your education. They stressed it and they passed it on. And then even if the people in your neighborhood don't stress education, I had a cousin. I won't bore you to death. I had a cousin who he didn't think education was important, and I had my brother who went to college and everything, got a degree, and he said we hated school, and we could not. We thought he was a bookworm, and when he went to college, and then all of a sudden they grow up and they have children and a wife, and their wife and their wants to travel the country and travel the world. And they said the best I can do for you is working, not putting them down, is Pony Express in Mainzell. And their wife was furious, but he says, you know something. In the way then he eventually grew up, and he said, you know something. Even if you had to spend 7 years, you had to spend 7 years of your life doing something. Why not do something positive with it? Because my brother went on to become an attorney. You still there?
Yep, I'm still there.
And that's what he says, and that's what we get to. And whether it's a 4-year apprenticeship or 5 years or whatever, it may take you 4 or 5 years, but you still have to do something with your 5 years. Why not do something positive with it?
Right.
And that's what he was getting to.
All right, thank you.
So long after.
Appreciate you for the call.
I appreciate you allowing me to talk.
No problem. Have a good one. Yeah, I mean, there are many different types of education. And I don't think that one form of education is greater than the other. But in terms of MPS and in terms of overall socioeconomic stability, um, there has to be accountability and there has to be some uniformity in a process. And right now, there is no process to what is going on. And it doesn't even look like there is an outlined plan on how to curb these disheartening numbers when it comes to where our youth rank within the MPS system. Call them. Thank you for your patience. You're on there.
Hey, good afternoon, big brother.
Good
I
morning.
had to chime in because the lower caller that was just on talked about
Hey, Meese, do you got us on speaker?
Yeah, is that better?
Yeah, that's a little better.
Okay, listen. I'm listening to the gentleman. He's talking about the construction field and stuff like that, technical high schools and even junior high has started. Listen, this is by design, brother, when it comes down to construction and that. If you look, all of your shop classes, all of the machining and tooling that we had in this city and all across the country, it started in California, getting rid of your technical college, your technical high school stuff, your shop classes. It started in California. See, California is ran basically by a lot of illegal immigrants. I just got to tell you like it is, man. You might say, well, how can they be running something illegal? Hey, man, I don't know, but you get out there and start moving around and it shows up that way. Listen, they started abolishing shop classes because they had already looked into the future that if you can stop a kid from reading a ruler, okay, and understanding the craft with his hands, then we can bring our people in and we'll move them out of the way. So shop classes start disappearing because of budgets and everything else. I mean, we had good drill presses, good everything you could use. Washington High School had the best auto mechanics in the state. Tech had the best technical college. I mean, technical school. These are high schools, man, where a person is being prepped to come out and work at a dealership or work wherever. I mean, they go to MATC for a couple of years, a year or so, but they're prepped. Mm-hmm. We were prepped already. You got a kid now that doesn't have a ruler. This is designed. That's why you see the Mexicans and these other people coming in here with the construction. They're tucking it over, and our kids are lost. They're lost, brother, because they can't even read a ruler. Do you understand how significant a ruler is?
Yeah.
Brother, you cannot do, and that's something that IG or GI, whatever it is, won't be able to take over. It's a hands-on job. Mm-hmm. I mean, they can fabricate houses, but it still take hands to put it together. So listen, man, this is by design. And, you know, you guys, and I say that our older people gave away the community with gave away our corner stores and sold out. A lot of those people sold those stores to send their kids, man, off to school for a better education. They just didn't sell out to go buy a car. These people tried to advance their wealth. And guess what? We're doing the same thing that they did, but we're doing worse than them. We giving away all of the achievements that they accomplished. We're basically giving away our piece of the country. We got a piece. We got stakes in this country. We're giving it all away. So when our generation come up, the next generation come up, they'll say, our folks just gave away nothing. We ain't got nothing we do. And we see we can stop it.
But isn't it on that next generation to want that?
I can't hear you. What do you mean?
You know, you said that they, you know, the past generation just gave it away, or like, and you know, a family business, so to speak.
They sold out because of, you know, various circumstances, man.
No, but I'm saying, isn't it on the next generation to want that? You know, like let's just say, for instance, you know, you're my uncle and you know what I'm saying, your son don't want your business, but maybe I do. I gotta show you that I want that. If I don't show you that I want that, then you know you just gonna go on about your business, and you might even sell it.
Well, can I say this to you?
Yeah.
This is why you can't think like that, brother. Because if you do, then you just give it away. You just give it away. See, if you think like that, then you just give it away. So what I'm saying to you is this right here. Regardless of what the next generation thinks, they won't even have a chance to make that decision, because the kids that are coming into this country are being born. The people that are coming in here are born children here, and those children are legal American citizens, and they will outnumber. It's sort of like getting a roach egg in your house, man, and one roach egg spread, and you got roaches before you know it, and they overtake the kitchen, they overtake the whole house if it's not properly dealt with right away. And this is where we're at right now. The next generation won't even have a chance. All they'll be able to do is come up and complain like me and you and the rest of us, okay? Because the people before them let it go like that. So with the people that come in here...
And Meech, you couldn't come up with a better example than roaches.
Well, they spread so fast.
You know, that sounded like... No, but that sounded like one of them Donald Trump pieces, you know.
No, brother. That's not it. Have you ever had roaches in your house?
Yeah, but it sounds very derogatory is what I'm saying to you.
What do you mean, about a roach?
Yeah, well, your example...
I'm not calling any person. I'm not calling the people a roach, brother.
Well, that's what it sounded like to me. I'm sorry. That's the only reason I chimed in.
I was using that for... we'll use rabbits.
I can use the rabbit better than I can a roach.
Okay, we'll use a rabbit. Rabbits breed highly fast, brother. And I'm talking about the people that are coming here are breeding so fast that they're gonna overshadow me and your grandkids, Devo, and brother man kids right here. They're gonna overshadow those kids because they're not having abortions. That's not even a part of their thought process. Their thought process is get many as they can and flood the country. Now, this Donald Trump, he made a statement. He said it's going to be the biggest deportation that America's ever seen. Now, we had some big deportations, but listen to this here. If you try to deport them people, then we have a real civil war on our hands. And guess what? They're not going to go back as easy as they came in. They're going to put up some resistance. And me and you can run out and say, hey, brother, I'm me and you color, I'm people of color. Hey, man, they're not looking at you like that. You American. It don't make no difference who you is. Remember, my folk come here in slavery, dog. Hey, man, they not hearing none of that. Because you are, at that point, you will be considered an enemy. And guess what? They're not going to go back as easy as they came in. So the revolution that people are thinking about, we going to do white man, we going to fight the white man going to take... No. It's going to be these other people, man, that are going to resist the roundup, if there ever be one. Even if Kamala Harris try to pull it, but she ain't going to try to pull that because she has no real stake in the game here. She ain't got no real stake in the game.
Why not?
She don't have any children.
Oh, come on, man. I know you're not going there.
Hold on. Okay, I want you. What tell me what
that's not a real statement because I know so many people. I mean, Keith is one of them. He doesn't have children. Okay, saying that he don't have no stake in America?
What's his stake versus hers? He doesn't have any children that he fathered. So what are you saying?
Keith got stake in the game. He got skin in the game.
And she doesn't.
He got skin in the game.
Why doesn't she then if he does?
Because guess what, brother? The only thing that she's contributed to is round them up and lock them up and get some money. I mean, she's a player. She done got some money, you know.
Trump did too. Trump did too.
I can't hear you, brother.
I said Trump did too. They all players. They in this political. They in this political atmosphere.
And I know he won't never hear this, but if he, and it won't be another debate, but if he just went to a black rally and took all his council checks and dumped them out on the floor and showed the organizations, the black organizations that have put foundations that have petitioned him to get money that he done wrote checks for his organization,
There ain't another. I don't know if it's another president that's done rolled with black folk like that. You know, if he just bought his council checks, that would be including. I believe he done gave some money to the National Action Network. I believe that, and I don't know what bandana that Trump.
Well, I'm gonna have to see that.
Huh?
I'm gonna have to see those receipts.
Guess what, brother? The organizations that man that's done petitioned that man to get money from this organization. I mean, he I guess it's just a blowing past him because all he had to do is say, well, look, let me get my council checks on the organization.
Hey, Meech, get back to your point. You talking about Kamala Harris don't have
spouting out stuff now. You have no
Kamala Harris don't got
no
skin in the
validation to
game
anything you
because
just
she
said.
don't have any children, and I'm pushing back on that because it's so many people that have been intricate. Hold on, Meech. It's so many people that has been intricate in my life that does not have children that got skin in the game.
That wasn't the nature of the call. You want to
you took it there. I let you go to many places.
Okay, well, my point was that the school system is shut down using California politics. They started in California removing the shop classes. I don't even know if you had shop in school. Did you, DJ?
No, I didn't.
Okay, well, the gentleman across the table from you did, and the gentleman across the table probably know how to read a ruler.
Yeah,
okay, he probably know how to use a drill press. He probably know how to. He probably built a birdhouse when he was a kid and said, or a jury box and said, "Wow, I'm taking this home to my mama." And you feel so good, and you feel so proud about something that you've created. And guess what? You go on to want to build. You don't get that in today's society. Because there's other people that are coming in, and there are other people that are coming in now with the skill set that don't even have no education. To your last caller, they don't have real education. But they can read a ruler. Okay, they can read a ruler.
I mean, I could read a ruler too, but I don't use no drill. I don't use no drill press, but I don't care to use that. So what do you say about the kids that don't care to do that then?
Brother, that's not what I'm saying. Some people don't have the mindset that you have. See, what you got, I probably don't got. Okay, right. I can't do what you do. You probably can sit in a classroom and figure numbers out and do all this other kind of stuff and get on your computer. Okay, me coming up, I didn't have that.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have the desire to do that because really it wasn't available to us. You know what was available to us? Smoking that bowl to make your hair grow. We listen to some Funkadelics in Parliament, and we try to make it to school. If we wasn't too drunk off that wine, drinking that old Wild Irish, we used to like to do that.
Come on,
but
man.
At the same time, I was still able to make it to class. I love shop.
I get what you say. I kind of get what you're saying. I kind of get what you're saying when you're saying if you just give the kids a choice between a trade and then other vocational
technology,
right? Then it gives us a better chance moving forward and attaining the jobs and being more economically stable. I think that's where you're getting at. You got a different way of saying it.
You took me there. You said it in a nutshell. You put it together.
Yeah. I gotta listen.
I should have just came in without all of the extra.
Without the roaches and all that stuff. Yeah.
No, I get that. And then if that's your premise, then I definitely agree with you.
Say what?
Hey, I want to ask Debo something. Debo, why are you trying to fight me, man?
Because I miss you, man.
Yeah, no, you don't miss me because you would have done called me.
Yeah. Hey, Meech.
Yeah.
We miss you, man.
Hey, man.
That's your sound effect, man. We put that in just for you when you went AWOL.
Well, no. I had some other things going on, but that's okay. I wasn't ducking no smoke, but that's all right. Listen, man. Hey, listen, let me get out of here. But California politics is playing a great part all across the country. If you just look out your window, you will see this vision zero going on throughout here. It has nothing to do with reckless driving. It has something to do with control, slowing down, putting us into a pace. They want to put us in a haze, man. That's what this whole COVID movement was, to slow us down, get us under control. And that's what's going on right now. And Cavalier Johnson, he's just naive, man. He's a young boy, and they're using him. He's just what the doctor ordered. He's a Barack Obama. He's being used, and he probably even knew it and don't care.
All right, Meech.
So you right, you got yourself right side up. Now you're going back upside down, man.
Yeah, all right, Meech.
You have a great day, Meech.
Hey, one thing you can't say is that I beat up on you. You started from A to Z, and anywhere in between.
Accuse me of that, man. You hear that? I wasn't beating up on him, man.
It's all good. This is Community Voice. Oh, this is the last. Well, I just want to say a shout out to all of the listeners. Thank you for your calls. This should be a beautiful weekend. Please be safe. Speak to your loved ones. Call anyone that you're thinking about. Give them a hug. Pay them a visit. Know that life is precious, and you are too. So with that being said, the good Lord willing, the creek don't rise. Keith will be coming to you on Monday. And with that being said, let's go from this place in peace.